Before our program begins, I would like to welcome and thank all veterans, active and reserve service members who came here to visit us today. I appreciate it. I want to thank the families who came and who are here to support us as well. Today is a very important day as we honor our veterans, those who served and risked their lives for our country. It is important to remember that the safety and security of United States citizens will fail to exist without those who made the ultimate sacrifice of putting their lives on the line when called to duty. I would personally like to thank Honor Flight for Chicago for their assistance in organizing today's events, and a special thanks to Mrs. Mary Drent and Nancy Stager for helping me, and Mrs. Drent is here today. And as I said earlier on the announcements, there are going to be times where we're going to have to stand and be silent in respect for our activities related to Veterans Day. And I know you are warriors who can do it. So now we are going to continue with the program. Thank you.
Westchester Middle School has partnered with Honor Flight Chicago. We are privileged to hear powerful stories from 3 of their senior war veterans. Also, every WMS student has written a letter to a World War II or Korean War veteran for a total of almost 330 letters. Without reading every letter, I would like to share words of encouragement, love, and support from my peers. Collectively, we believe veterans are the true heroes who are brave, appreciated, helpful, fighters, and respectful role models who make our world a better place by giving up their family and friends, a comfortable bed, jobs, and holidays. Thank you for your service and for inspiring some of our warriors who want to join the military as well.
And now I ask that everyone stand out of respect for the flag. We stand quietly. Quietly is the key word that we are using. And we are going to remain standing as our own Miss Durst does her rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Audience attention, color guard attention. Color guard 4, march. Color guard halt. Color guard cross the colors. Color guard post the colors. Color guard return the reins. Color guard about face. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Color guard dismiss. Audience dismiss.
Please feel free to join me in the singing of the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. Now we will hear several readings about the history of Veterans Day.
When Francis Scott wrote the Star-Spangled Banner almost 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom, to aid our friends and allies, and to turn back aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today.
These words are inscribed on the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and to people they never met. These words apply equally to many of our World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and Gulf War veterans as well. They apply to today's active duty service members, tomorrow's veterans who are hoping to maintain peace throughout the world. Today, it is our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them for their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. Today, we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this nation, the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
History of Veterans Day. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, an armistice, or temporary stoppage of hostilities, was declared between the Allied nations and Germany in the First World War, then known as the Great War. Commemorated as Armistice Day, beginning the following year, November 11th became a legal federal holiday in the United States in 1938. In the aftermath of World War II and the Korean War, Armistice Day became Veterans Day. President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed legislation on June 1st, 1954. From then on, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars.
Originally, the observation of Veterans Day was set on the fourth Monday in October. The first Veterans Day under the new law was Monday, October 25th, 1971. Confusion ensued as many states disapproved of this change and continued to observe this holiday on its original date. In 1975, after it became evident that the actual date of Veterans Day carried historical and patriotic significance to many Americans, President Gerald R. Ford signed a new law returning the observation of Veterans Day to November 11th, beginning in 1978. If November 11th falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, the federal government observes the holiday on the previous Friday or the following Monday, respectively. A veteran defined. A veteran is defined as any person who has served honorably on active duty in armed forces of the United States. The 6 branches of armed forces are the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force. In order to join the armed forces, you must be 18 years of age unless your parents give you permission at age 17. The United States currently has over 1.3 million active personnel in the military. Difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Veterans Day is not to be confused with Memorial Day, a common misunderstanding according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Memorial Day always falls on the 4th Monday in May. It honors American service members who died in service to their country or as a result of injuries incurred during battle, while Veterans Day pays tribute to all American veterans, living or dead, but especially gives thanks to living veterans who served their country honorably during war or peacetime. Make sure to honor any veteran you may know all year, but especially today on Veterans Day.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Harn, Ms. Dirks, and Ms. Flutie for their rendition of America the Beautiful. That was beautiful. Today, as we honor veterans, as I mentioned earlier, we have veterans here who have the privilege of being a part of Honor Flight Chicago. First, we're going to hear from Ms. Salazar, who guided us through our veteran letters. And her father, Mr. Ramirez, is here also. He served in Vietnam as a cannoneer and expert rifleman in the Army, so Ms. Salazar is going to come up and share more about her dad. Please welcome.
This is my dad, Misael Ramirez, as I introduced to you before in my little video. As Mrs. Scott has said, he served in the Army, and I just wanted to share a little bit of his story with you because it is a little bit different. I think a lot of times when we think about the military, we think it's Americans serving from American fights. My dad was not an American when he went into the Army. My dad was an immigrant from Mexico. I will say one of the things about being in America that is so wonderful is we educate everyone. We take everyone in and we give you a chance to learn in 1,000 different ways. And if you don't do well the first time, we give you another chance. And if you don't do it the second time, we give you another chance. That's not the case in a lot of other countries. My dad, he was in school, and one of the graduation requirements in Mexico is that you pass the English test, and my dad did not. So you did not pass, and you were let go. And so what he was told was they didn't need anybody there to keep the seats warm. So that's just what it is. No seat warmers they needed people who wanted to, or had to have to pass this test. So my dad came to the States without his education, and he needed to get a future for himself. Mexico does not have a lot of great jobs for people who don't have, diplomas and things like that, so obviously he needed to do something different. When he was here, they started drafting for the Vietnam War. And for those of you who don't understand that, is anyone who is over 18 and you're a male, you need to register. And basically you're telling the government that you work here and you're over 18 in the event that they might need to do that again. They haven't ever since then, but they will ask you for that information. My dad was with his friend and they just said, we're gonna get called, but just go do this anyway. So they actually walked into the recruitment office and said, can we just sign up? And they said, absolutely. They were not taking, they were not gonna let that go. So my dad knew that he needed a different path. He knew that he needed some way to find a future for himself. And the military gave him that pathway. They offered him his GED, they offered him classes in college, and so he knew that part of this deal was a means to an end. It was, some people, they joined the military out of this wonderful, feeling of serving their country. Other people might be because they know they want to go to college and they can't afford it. And my dad knew that he needed to do something to give himself a future. So, like I said in the video, Vietnam was a little bit of a different kind of war. It was controversial at best. There are a couple different reasons that led to it, but basically it was the American anti-communist kind of thing that was happening. I will say that Vietnam is still a communist country this many years later. We were there for 17 years. It was a very difficult battle because we were on uncharted territory. We were basically fighting blindly. It was a very hard war for everyone who was there on both sides. When I hear stories about my dad in the military, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's weird. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's really sad. My aunt would tell me that, and my dad has told me too, that there was never really enough food or water, so he was often sharing those with other soldiers. My aunt would tell me that she would send him cans of ravioli. Because he was hungry. But that's the sacrifice, you know? They sacrifice time, they sacrifice health, they sacrifice a lot of the things that we take for granted. That's why this is so important. I'm so proud of him. He did so good. Honor Flight is an amazing thing. If you ever have a chance to volunteer, or you ever have a family member or a friend who has served, sign them up. It's free for them. It's an amazing day. It gives them so much joy and so much honor, and they deserve it. They deserve it. And I will tell you that the Army gave my dad what he needed at that time, which was a clear path to a future that he could survive and have a family and have a future for himself. And I just think that sometimes we take small things for granted, and we don't want to be seat warmers. We want to take what is given to us and grow that and be better and take those challenges and opportunities and set goals for ourselves. And I don't know, I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about my dad, that's all. Yeah.
Very short speech. They asked if we were here doing it.
Thank you all so much. Next, I want to introduce Donna Delaney, who is a Vietnam veteran who served in the Navy from 1973 to 1980 in the United States and in the Philippines as a data systems technician. So a very interesting career. She flew with Honor Flight Chicago in October of 2021 on their all-women's flight, and has become an active volunteer as well as a member of their education outreach program. So we are going to hear from her. Let us welcome her.
I actually did the same kind of thing where I joined the service because I had no future my parents couldn't afford an education for me beyond high school. So, excuse me, I had a data processing class in high school, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll try that. So I went in and took the test, and they asked me if I wanted to be a data systems technician. And I said, I don't even know what that is. They said, well, besides operating the computers, you can fix them. He said, your mathematics and mechanics were very high. And I said, okay, why not? So they said, but it entails 2 more years of your life. So a 4-year enlistment with electronic training got extended to a 6-year enlistment. After the 4 years, I was actually extended 1 more year, so I got a bonus. But the experiences I had while in the service created my life. It really rounded my education. It made me understand and accept people of different countries and nations. And it was fabulous. I did not go to war directly, but when I was stationed in the Philippines, I was working with a squadron. And that squadron was going out and finding Vietnamese boat people. So the Vietnamese who had gotten in a boat, having no idea where they were headed, just got in the boat so they could get away from there. And so our squadrons would go out and find them and rescue them. And so I was working with them. And really, that's pretty much it. It really created my whole life.
who brought so much humor to the front office this morning. Flew with Honor Flight Chicago in 2011, was drafted his junior year of high school, served in the Air Force from 1943 to 1946, was in the motor pool and made the rank of corporal. He also served in Australia and New Guinea, Philippines. Let us give a warm welcome for Corporal Ray.
Thank you very much. I have just a little story that when I was a junior in high school, believe it or not, and we were sitting at a table, my mother, my brothers and sisters, and here I get a notice to go to the Army. I said, I took a test in my junior year for the Navy and the Army Air Force. Well, I never realized that they would accept me that fast. So, within a few months after I took the test, there they called me on December 3rd. And I never got to finish my senior year. But with the Army, as great as they are, with the Air Force, should I say, they did graduate me eventually. They sent me my graduation, which I thought was, I sure earned it. But at the time that I left, I began in my career, I was stationed in New Guinea. I went to New Zealand, to Australia, and they finally decided to drop me off in New Guinea. I spent 2 years there. Didn't see many people, that's for sure. And it was quite an experience. But the bottom line is, it did make a man out of me. And that was the big thing. Here I was 18 years old, didn't even get to graduate with my class. And I was serving the service. And I never regret it. And I thank you very much. And these are my uniforms. Now this uniform must be 70 years old, at least. And I certainly couldn't get into it, but I know a lot of you kids could. And it was quite an honor. I never knew what I was going to do with it, but I see after saving it all this time, it finally serves its purpose. And I thank you.
To my left, we have the missing man table, and we are going to share the history behind the missing man table.
Missing Man Table. The Missing Man Table, also known as the Fallen Comrade Table, is a semi-official place of honor in some dining facilities of the U.S. Armed Forces in memory of fallen, missing, or imprisoned military service members. The table serves as a focal point of the ceremonial remembrance, originally growing out of the U.S. concern of the Vietnam War prisoner of war missing in action issue. The table is set for one and is small, symbolizing the family of one isolated prisoner. The table is usually set close to or within sight of the entrance to the dining room. The table is drawn to represent everlasting concern on the part of the survivors for the missing loved ones.
The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. A single red rose in the vase signifies the blood that many have shed and sacrificed to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith while awaiting their return. A yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbons worn on the lapels of the thousands who demand with unyielding determination a proper accounting of our comrades who are not among us tonight.
The lemon on the bread plate represents the bitter fate of the missing. Salt sprinkled on the bread plate, symbolic of the countless volunteers the family as they wait. The inverted glass represents the fact that the missing and fallen cannot partake. A lit candle represents the light of hope, which our lives apart illuminate their way home, away from their captors in the open arms of a grateful nation. And finally, an empty chair symbolic the missing and fallen that are present.
And now we are going to observe the flag folding ceremony.
The American flag is one of the most important symbols of the United States. Holding the American flag is a sign that there is a deep honor and respect for the flag. The flag is folded to represent the original starting colors of the United States. Each fold also carries its own meaning. Here is an explanation of what each of the fold means. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold is a symbol of our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departed others, who were portion of their lives for the defense of the country, whose names we still adore. The fourth fold represents our nation, for as Americans express this, and they return in times of peace, as well as in times of war and domination. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for the Lord of seven decades our country and deal with other countries. May she always be good and respect our country as right and wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And may all firm to stand for the nation under God, indivisible, and free and justice. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flags against all enemies, whether they are found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor Mother for whom we find and understand. The ninth fold is a tribute to women, for whose labors of faith, their love, loyalty, and devotion, that the character of the men and women who have made this country great has been formed. The tenth fold is a tribute to the Father, who he too has given his sons and daughters in defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold, in the eyes of the Hebrew citizen, represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold, in the eyes of the Christian citizen, represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The 13th fold, when the flag is completely folded, the start of uppermost reminders by
America is his hero, in uniform, standing tall, ready, willing, and able to march, the will to face all. The proudest of our service, steadfastly lead each call, the bravest of our country, as were those upon the wall. Displaying awesome courage, a treasure you cannot install, filled with total commitment to serve us for the long haul. America, know this hero, thank God, and always recall.
And as we come to the conclusion of our ceremony, I ask that the audience stands and remains silent.
Yeah, thanks.
Silent.
Excuse me.
For the retrieval of the colors and the plan of task by Mr. Kluge, we are remaining silent during this entire process.
Audience attention. Color guard attention. Color guard forward, march. Color guard halt. Color guard prepare to retrieve the flag. Color guard retrieve the flag. Color guard return the rings. Color guard about face. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Irons dismiss. Color guard dismiss.
The audience, please be seated. I'm going to move over to the side. I don't feel right with my back. Should I need more? I have only a couple of thoughts, and I can go on forever when it comes to our country, our flag, the national anthem, those types of things. Those are important to me. That's been instilled in me from when I was a young child. But there's two words I want you to take out of today, and the words you should use every day. And the words are thank you. And the reason I say that is because when I think of sacrifices that I've made, it's nothing in comparison to what our veterans or individuals have done. I can't even imagine at 17 years old, 18 years old, being told, guess what, you're going to be taken from your family and you're going to another country and you don't know when you're going to come home. And hopefully, if you were going to come home, can't even I can't put that into my brain and process that. So what I want us to think, and this is kind of my message here today, is think about what others have done for you. And it sometimes is not always about military people doing things. It's adults, it's teachers, it's your friends who sometimes help you in that time of need. We were setting up here yesterday, and we had so many different things going on. Mrs. Scott was practicing with their group here. Our cheer and dance team was getting ready to practice, and they were in multiple places because they had a board meeting. And I was in here, and I took the mountain off the floor, and they were like, why are you mounting the floor? Just so our group can have a great space. Every one of them, I'll do it, Mr. Lee, I'll do it. Small gestures go a long way. A long way, and just the word thank you. When somebody does something. It's not going to change the things and experiences they may have gone through that weren't positive. But I think every message that I heard today is at the end, it gave them something. It gave them an opportunity. And I can't imagine somebody saying, you know what, you're not worth anything. Good luck to you. Found an opportunity and made a great opportunity. So my thank yous go to a couple of people today. Mrs. Scott for organizing and running this. This has been an ongoing piece. Let's thank Mrs. Scott for that. As I've had known her, she has, well, this is my baby. This is one of her babies. Okay? I'd like to thank our Boy Scouts for their process. Our performers over there in the corner. Usually when Mr. Kluge sings, it's not always serious, and I saw a serious side of him today, so wonderful performance there. And then the front here, I don't know if we've ever had a performance outside of our musical or our choir performance, but we've had so many students be part of that process. So let's thank our student volunteers. And then my final thank you is to our veterans and our Boy Scouts leader. I know that they practice, and they do that. And Tommy Newhouse promised me on this one, so we practice every Thursday. We got it. Don't worry about it. Mrs. Dredd, who I've known as a parent, she coached at Forest Park, and she's been involved with this process with us with Veterans Day for years. And she's part of Honor Flight Chicago, which you heard about. And if you don't know about that, just look it up. It's a wonderful opportunity that our veterans have to be recognized for their, I'll say their gift they gave to our country. Because it's an immeasurable gift. So thank you to our veterans and our group for that. And I'll conclude with this. Thank you to our audience for being wonderful audience members and letting our presenters, our speakers, our guests to our building share their stories. We don't get a lot of these, I'll call them real-life opportunities, but for me, I always think they're sometimes more important. Teachers don't get upset with me on this. They're more important than what we learn in the classroom, because it's life lessons that you'll use outside of the classroom. Just tell somebody thank you. Be a good person, and do your work, you'll be very successful in life. So, thank you very much.
Thank you all for, as Mr. Levin said, he said everything I could possibly think of. As we dismiss, you're going to return to your second period, class of elective things, and then go to third. So I'm going to dismiss sixth grade.